Awesome. I'm excited. You want to hear a crazy story real quick?
Yeah. I mean, what a great way to start. Guys, this is Seth. Before we jump into the actual legends of Be Wealthy, Seth has a quick story to tell us. Let's go.
I was coming home from Belize 2 days ago, and everything's supposed to go great, Well, Dallas decides to have some nasty weather.
Oh, yeah, we did.
And 48 hours of travel and getting in at 2 a.m. last night, remembering, I got a call this morning. I made it here for you, but barely.
I believe it.
Can you believe it? Yeah. Woo.
That's awesome. Well, Seth, thank you very much for being here, because people are pretty pumped to learn from you, hear about your successes, what you've been able to build. It is super inspiring. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Before we dive into your story and your business, I think we need to address the elephant in the room that I like to call your beard. We posted online on Facebook telling people about you and that we were going to be having this awesome call. And we got a lot of chatter that the picture we used was an inappropriate picture because you were very, very manicured compared to today's beard. So do you want to tell us a little bit about your beard passion and how it has grown and what the vision of it looks like? What does this look like in 10 years?
Ooh, yeah. So I have the amazing ability to grow a beard really easily.
Oh.
And so this takes very little effort.
Okay.
I usually for a long time I was very, very, very well manicured. And I just I think it was May. I had shaved it off completely. My little daughter just bawled her eyes out all the way down to San Diego. She stared at me the whole car ride and was angry and wouldn't hug me for 2 days. So I said, I'm bringing back the beard. It's not worth my little girl being upset with me. And in May, I just said, let's see if we can go till December and see how long it goes. And so this is where we are, because I just running it through the end of the year.
Well, first of all, we can't traumatize children.
No.
So it only makes sense. And then also, it seems very structured at the same time as rugged. Is there a lot of trimming going on, or is this just natural? You just naturally are this gorgeous.
Yes. I got to trim the mustache. That is it.
Wow. Well, congratulations to you and your beard. It's impressive.
Thank you.
So now that we've gotten the elephant in the room under control, I know quite a bit about you and your business, but for those on this call who don't, Brett is unbelievably proud and brags about your business and what you've built all the time. And so many of us do know quite a bit about your business, but some of us may not. So could you tell us a little bit about your background, your business, what it currently looks like today, how long you've been at it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think for a little bit of background, I, prior to real estate, realized I was really good in sales. And it was just something that actually filled the massive void of sports, needed something to compete in, and sales are very competitive. I dove into real estate as a realtor 10 years ago next month.
Okay.
I knew nothing about it, but after getting into sales, I was like, I need to sell something bigger. And I was also fascinated by the previous crash. I was watching like houses sell for 20 grand. I was like, hey, this is kind of cool. And so,
were you selling before real estate?
I was selling in yellow page ads.
I'm sorry, come again?
Yep. Yellow page ads in the phone book, like those phone book ads.
10 years ago, that seems like lunacy.
Oh, it was crazy. And I was good at it. So the fact that I could talk business owners into ads in the phone book made me realize, like, if I can do this, I was actually so good at it, I was going to take a pay cut to go be a teacher. And so I was like, if I have this dead end job and I'm going to take a pay cut to be a teacher, I probably shouldn't be a teacher. And so I love teaching, and it was a passion, but the financial opportunities weren't there. So one night my friend goes, you always talk about real estate. Why don't you just do it? And we signed up. And 10 years ago, I got my real estate license and then went and messed around as a realtor for 4 or 5 years on my own. Stumbled into a partnership with a guy. I thought I was just signing up for some marketing to go get a bunch of listings. Turns out it was marketing for distressed homes. I was like, dude, what are these? I'm getting these crappy homes just infested. I was wanting to list $1 million homes. I'm all excited to do that. And he's like, no, we're gonna wholesale this thing. I'm like, what? And I thought I had signed up to get listings, and all of a sudden I'm on the fly. I'm learning how to wholesale.
Yeah.
And then that varied into flipping. And so it dawned on me as I'm going through all this, I go, oh, this is like an inside track to getting the first opportunity to buy good investment properties.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of retooled the business and realized I was exactly where I needed to be in the distressed homes department. And we focused on creating a business around, first goal at that moment was, can we buy a property as a rental? If it fits in our box, great. If that didn't work, we were going to flip it. If that didn't work, we were going to list it. It is now involved to include rental or notes. That's something we've learned probably in the last 18 months that we've included in there. That investment business started as me about 5 years ago. And now over the last, call it 18 months, it is transformed into, I have 35 either realtors or acquisitions agents on the team. And 35. I just looked at our numbers and we've bought 89 homes year to date on the investment side. That's my passionate side, because the whole focus of this thing is to identify cash flow. I wanted to create a business that gave me the opportunity to identify cash flowing assets that will shoot off income forever. And I'm obsessed with trying to, I think it's very similar to Brett. I will fight very hard to go find something that continues to make $1. Mm-hmm. And it pretty silently is the goal. And so I wanted to create a business that allowed me to identify opportunities to generate cash flow passively.
Okay. Lot to unpack there, because that's some incredibly explosive growth. Before we get to the growth side, I want to go to that mindset side of, maybe not even mindset, the philosophy. So your whole goal and what you just said is to have a business that's going to give you opportunity to invest, to create passive cash flow long-term.
Yes. So I think I want to build a moat around myself to protect myself. And I think a lot of times we can make a lot of income and we're really good at making income. But the challenge with income is it can go away very fast. Mm-hmm. And you don't protect yourself with this because it's so easy. Everybody wants your dollar. What I'm trying to build are I'm obsessed with is this focus to build these revenue streams through these rentals and notes and cash flow opportunities that continue to repeat. So if that income leaves, you still have, it's going to be there next month. It's going to be there next month. And so I'm trying to build this, I'm like protecting myself. And I feel like that's what all of these assets are doing.
How are you determining, you talked about these deals coming through and these different ways that you're looking to invest in them to create this moat. If you look, Brett has his deal hierarchy, right? And we talk about that all the time. First, can I buy it? Are you using a similar, and then last, can I list it? Do you use a similar hierarchy or what's your philosophy on that?
Yes. There are some, I think it changes with the market. So last year, the obsession was can we create a note out of this? Can we generate a 20% return on a note? That was goal number one. It used to be, can we get a rental? But that was in a market that was lower. And I have not been as excited to buy rentals lately because the market has appreciated so much and we're going down in price. Now, so it's been hyper focused on notes. Now it will go back to buying rentals once we get this market is heading down. And once we get to the bottom, I will be probably absolutely obsessed with, can we turn this into a rental? And because I want to capture all that appreciation up. Today, okay, so it used to be rentals was the first focus. Today, or last year, it was notes. Can we create a note? If we cannot create a note, can we make it a good rental? If we cannot make it a good rental, can we flip it? If we can't flip it, does it make sense to wholesale? If it doesn't make sense to wholesale, can we list it? And so we have these options we go through. Notes were and still are a big part of it because they're so silent. However, today we are wanting to become a little more cash heavy. And so if we do note a property, it's going to be with a much larger down payment. We are preferring at the moment to short-term flip a lot of stuff. We do offer owner finance, but I'm going to require minimum of 20-25% down. Won't even consider anything beyond that because I think today we need to be in a very cash heavy position to capitalize on these severely discounted opportunities in the next, call it 18 months.
Yeah, I certainly agree with you on that. I'd like to dive a little for those who don't know, or maybe are new to this thought process, right? Because if you rewind, even for you start in this industry and you start as a real estate agent, a lot of times the Taj Mahal or the real opportunity you're pursuing is an investment in 123 Main Street. I'm going to buy it as a rental. I'm going to follow Rich Dad Poor Dad and I'm going to invest in it and hold it forever. And that's it. Over 30 years, it'll pay off based upon the rental income coming in. And that's the name of the game. You now have said that based upon the market, that can shift for you. And there's other ways to invest in real estate to get higher returns depending upon market conditions, right? So you're talking about this flow between a note, rental, maybe back to note, back to rental. What are for those who don't know the philosophy behind that, why would it be a time for a note, if you can go a little more granular, versus a time for a rental?
Sure. So, and I was just talking about this with someone the other day. I think that an opportunity to note is when we get to a place where the market has gotten so overpriced and we clearly start seeing indicators that we've probably squeezed everything out of this one. I don't know that it makes sense to buy, if we're peaking in this thing, I don't know if it makes sense to buy a rental at 300 grand that highly likely is probably going to go to 200 grand. So I'm trying to avoid buying that thing, watching it go down, and it's no fun to like fix things and repair things while your property is just declining in value. So what we are trying to accomplish and have accomplished is we want to capture that loan amount at that peak price. So we want to capture, say we have a property that we sell for 300 grand, they put 20% down. I am tickled with getting a $240,000 note. And maybe that property goes down to 200 grand. Maybe I take it back and I'm okay with that because I've already got that 60 grand plus some monthly. Now I do not want someone to fail. And so we try to structure payments that are affordable and right in line with rent. So if things get rocky, they can continue to pay their payment instead of going and renting and they'll be a homeowner. But what we're trying to capitalize on is that, call it artificial gain in the market when it just gets so hot. We want to take advantage and get a note up here instead of buying that rental and watching it go down in value.
Yeah.
Now, on the flip side, I'm sitting here looking, I looked at the last market. I think it was an excellent time to buy from, call it 2009 to 2020. And in 2009, 10, 11, 12, 13, all those years, you probably tripled or quadrupled your money. In the latter years, you probably had a 30 to 40% increase. call it, round it all together, double. Okay. You go out and you buy some assets that double in value, and you get, call it, I don't know, 2 a year, we're just round numbers. That's 22 homes. You would, let's for round numbers, call that 300 grand an asset. What is that math? I want to do just like let me work through this for a second. I'm going to get, if I'm being too granular,
6.6 million.
so you got 6.6 million, right? Okay. So 300 grand, but you're only going to have, call it 25% as down. You're going to have a 75% loan. So 6.6 million. What is that? 6.6 times 75%. You got 4.9 million in debt. But if those double in value, that's 6.6 million. Now you have $13 million of real estate with only $5 million of debt, but there was also some pay down. So when the market depreciates, that's when you have to buy rentals, because they will at a minimum double, at a minimum. And I think if you buy them right, they will triple and quadruple, because they printed so much money. We're going to stratospheric numbers after this thing goes down.
Yeah.
And so talking about when to make that decision, right now we're trying to get cash heavy because this thing is going to decline. My market in particular has already had a 13% decline in the last 6 months. Insane. We didn't see that in 07, 8, 9. We never saw one that big in a 6-month span. So I see an excellent opportunity on the horizon to buy these things at a severely discounted rate and watch them triple and quadruple in price. And I will just have a tremendous amount of equity to go and buy more assets.
I love that. Where are you going to find these? So you're doing some things in preparation, right? Number one is you're getting cash heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Number two is you have a sales force. You got 35 people.
Yep.
Running and gunning every day. When the time is right, where would you think you will have the best luck in finding these deals?
So I think it's the business doesn't change. It's still those we direct mail, with the 35 people calling every day for 4 to 5 hours a day. That's my favorite one, because that thing is very inexpensive and when someone generates a deal, that costs $200 a month. So
yeah.
Really zero. So those are cool. We've got our pay-per-click model. We've got our people out of the country that call for us. We text. We have all these different channels. I don't think that we change them. I think one of the things that's exciting that we're going to do is we're actually going to make offers on everything that went pending and canceled, because a seller already used that money.
Yep.
They emotionally use that money, and then it's gone. They want to be done with the property. So you come in, you make a cash offer, hey, and close in 2 weeks. That's where you get some substantial discounts on properties that are on the MLS. We haven't been able to tackle MLS for years because it's absurd what people pay. But now the game has changed to where I think you can get some really, really good opportunities.
That's an incredible point, for sure. So as you're talking, I'm kind of elementary in how I think and how I compartmentalize things. So I see 3 big buckets of what you've done. First is like the foundation, which is the philosophy of how you're looking at things. You've built an operating business that has the purpose of generating deal flow and cash flow in order to utilize those deals and that money to create a moat around yourself for long-term passive cash flow.
Yes.
That's like the foundation of it all.
That's the whole reason we do it.
It's the whole reason of the business. That makes a ton of sense, because otherwise you could just be selling yellow page ads and making some money and running and gunning.
But then what do you do with the money? And so I wanted a business that was tied to, we are really good at making money, but I wanted to be like, I think the challenge, realtors drive me nuts because they get this really good opportunity and they let someone else buy it and they market it gladly instead of taking that opportunity to buy that asset for themselves that will generate a tremendous amount of money and help them build their wealth.
Mm-hmm.
We're allowing, it's like you're in the best business to be the first at the opportunity.
Yep.
Why not?
And then you just a service provider for a nominal fee versus taking the opportunity for yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's tough. There's a lot of people on this call who may have the same philosophy as you, right? And so either they don't, and they're like, this guy is crazy, so shut this off, I'm not going to watch it anymore. But arguably the rest of the people who are still watching this have a same or similar philosophy as you and are interested in it. But they may not be at the point where they can say, I have 35 people working for me. I have all these different lanes of lead generation. I know what to target. I know how to grow it. They may be where you were, call it 5 years ago, just being an agent in the business, wanting to start this process. So can you tell us a little bit about that 5-year journey of growth and maybe what you would have done differently, or what really, really works that you would recommend? That's a mouthful.
Yes. Okay. So I think,
let's start there.
Say it again.
Let's start with the journey. You go from just being a single agent, running and gunning as a service provider, to now starting into, you're getting these crappy listings for distressed homes. How did you scale to where you are today?
Okay. So the first thing is just do a deal. Like one of the things I think I'm good at is just starting. Like, I don't know it all. But I see an opportunity, I see something, and I'm willing to go do something, like buy a home that I don't know how to flip and flip it. But you learn by doing that. And the first deal is always the hardest. And like, I'll see people just get paralyzed because they think they have to know everything. Well, the answer is you won't know everything until you do it a bunch, and you still don't know everything. But the first thing I did was I didn't even know how to wholesale, but I saw the opportunity. I go, okay, you mean I put this under contract, and then I go find an investor and I make this. And then I made it, but it was like 15 grand. I was like, all right, cool. But then I watched the guy who, I love wholesaling, still something we do, but I watched the guy who bought the home go make 100 grand. I go, huh? And it dawned on me, all right, let's try that. And so we went and we flipped a home. So then for a long time, it was just me out hustling. And I mean, for quite a long time, I think until 2 years ago, I was just running around, going on 4 appointments a day. We just had direct mail turned on. I was calling in the morning, going on appointments in the afternoon. And I had an admin staff around me. I think that's the first thing you do, is you put an admin staff around you to help you run as far as you can go. And you give them all the very important administrative stuff that, if you're good at sales, you probably hate. And so I leaned on them very heavily while I was just running. Now, at some point, that gets exhausting. What I had done is I was really, really good at that. And so I did it for as long as I could, but then I started a team with the wrong intentions. I started a team to make me more money. And so I hired a bunch of people, but I didn't want to teach them how to do anything. I just wanted to run out and go do deals and like put money in my pocket. And so I failed miserably the first time I started a team, and I blew it up, and I went back to a one-man show. That was because I was immature, I was selfish, and it is hard to be a leader, but you have to want to do it for the right reasons. And it was always, the reason I was bad at it is because every time someone would come to me with a challenge, I was looking at it like, you're messing with my time. Like, what the hell, dude? Like, instead of looking at like, how can I help this person grow? I was always looking at what's in it for me. And it was very bad. And so that thing exploded. Then I went and I ran for a lot longer, making great money by myself again, until I broke. Like, I think it was a Saturday night at 6 p.m. And I just told Brett, I go, I was sobbing in my car because I missed a family event and I was just making stupid money, but just by myself miserable. And so I told him, I said, I'm ready to do this team thing again. And so we worked through it and mapped out a plan. And at that time, I had made a lot of money to where life isn't going to change anymore. Like maybe you get a few other things, but it's pretty set. So now I was comfortable enough to help people. And so when I started the team, this was probably 24 months ago. And I came at it of an approach of like, I'm going to make these people good. And so we started with one person and they just went everywhere with me. And today they crush. And then I did it with another person, but the scale wasn't there. So it was like, am I going to have to really like one at a time this thing? He kept going, hire a recruiter. And I just told him, no, I'm not going to do that. I was in Austin, Texas, and Brett is speaking about recruiting. And I don't know why the message resonated this time. I said, all right, I'm hiring a recruiter. I think that was November. That was right after COVID. The COVID was still weird, but they let you travel to Texas and nowhere else.
Well, it is Texas.
It is Texas. So we're in Texas. He speaks in, I think it's November of 2021. Maybe it was 2020, November 2020. And I go, all right, I'm going to get home and I'll have a recruiter by January 1st and we'll go. We hired a recruiter. I knew nothing about how to do this, and except for what I did. And like, I literally sat in the middle of everybody and just did what I've done for 10 years, which is prospect in the morning. And once they landed an appointment, I went with them. If I had appointments, someone went with me. It was exhausting, really, 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 really hard. But my intentions were different this time. I wanted to help these people. My life is set. I'm doing good. I wanted to help these people. And so when I came from that mindset, and I'm talking to them about their goals, and I'm telling them what I've done and how to do it, and it just, boom, it switched. And like, it's flourished into a thing where there's so many successful people in this office right now doing well. And in turn, and I did not know this was going to happen. I hoped it would happen. The business has just exploded, like crazy exploded, because I'm helping them. And when I help them, it comes back like 5 to 10x. It really, really, really does. And they want to go help me. And it's wild. And so they're like my biggest defenders. And not all of them. There's some people in here that are problems and challenges, and there's headaches, and we have all of those. But for the most part, when you change their life, which some of it might seem really, really simple, they will just do wonderful things for you. But don't expect it in return. Just do it out of helping, and it comes back tenfold. So that, I don't know if I answered your question, but it kind of gave a story.
You definitely did. You went through a few different phases. The first one, which was the failure, you tried to do the player coach, just didn't quite work. The second time you were player coach to start, which was exhausting. That is arguably, in my opinion, and based upon the time I've spent with a lot of our clients, that's the hardest possible role that ever exists in this business. Is going from just being you to being player coach, when all you really want to do is get through that player coach tunnel to like just helping to manage and lead, but you're in the player coach role.
It is very hard. And I full transparency, I still struggle with it today. There are moments where I think I've got to go back out there and go on 3 to 4 appointments a day because I'm nervous about where the market is and this and that. And so I have those struggles to this day. The hardest thing is, I remember it was another time where it was probably 4 months in. By the way, this thing, for the first 6 months when we started it the second time, awful, like hardest thing I've ever done. And about 4 months in, I text Brett, I go, I'm going to blow it up. I'm going to go back to being a one-man show.
What was so specifically when you're at that breaking point, what are the things that you're experiencing or feeling that you had to push through?
You can't get anything done. You cannot, like, you're answering every single question and you're exhausted at the end of the day, and you look down and go, what did I do? It's nothing. Like you're just like, gosh. So you have to get really good at saying no and to nonsense, and setting boundaries around when you can help people. And then the other time is just like, you have to get comfortable working right next to them. Like, they're not going to learn unless you're right there. And so when I was prospecting, I was literally sitting right next to them. I still do this to this day because I'm not 100% out of appointments. Later today, I'm going to walk out into our bullpen and I'm going to sit in the middle of it and call, because I still want them to hear. I've got 10 years of this.
Yeah.
So you have to have those boundaries around that time. And so, like, one of the hardest things is I was just all these questions and blah, blah. And I finally got to a point where I said, listen, from 9 to 11, you're supposed to be calling. Do not come to me with a question from 9 to 11. If you have a question, write it down and we will talk about it after that time. I'm going to call with you. If you come to me, I will say no. And I had to get to that point where I blocked my time so I could still go out and be the top revenue generator while we needed it to be. And that was very hard. And it's why people don't do it. It is the sole reason people don't do it, because they can't. And so right now, our internal struggle is my leaders are having a very hard, their calling is all out of whack. And they are struggling to say no at all hours of the day. And they don't give themselves like open time, open hours, office hours. They don't protect their time because they want to be nice and they want to help. But it just all of a sudden craters their business and they're struggling.
It's tough because what you said and what you shared with us, which is what made it different, the underlying golden thread that made it different this time, is that you care and you want them to succeed. That's the greatest strength of it all, but it can also be the greatest weakness if you don't put it in the right parameters.
Oh, you feel like you're a jerk if you're telling them no, and you want to help them, but in reality, you're not helping, because they're coming with you like, hey, how does this mojo dialer work? And you're not giving them, they don't critically think if you just answer every question. So you might feel like a jerk, but in reality, you're doing them a disservice.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times they come up to us with a question and we actually don't even have the answer. And then we go and search for it. But like, they could search for it. And so you're doing them a disservice to improve themselves. And so you have to, I now, and they know this, and no one will come to my door. And this actually didn't happen until about 3 months ago. No one will come to my door until 11:30. And if they do, I go, nope, 11:30. Like, it is a known thing they laugh about. But I had to do it. And so I will, like, there was a ton of times where 5 different people would try to get me and I would go, no, 11:30. And you know how many people came at 11:30? Like 1. They figured their challenge out. And so a lot of the stuff, if you're just open, they're just going to ask you nonsense questions that don't move the needle. And you're helping no one. So you have to be comfortable giving them some tough love. Tell them no. If you still have the challenge at this time, come back and give me like a solution that you think is going to work, and we'll talk through it. And you freed yourself up a tremendous amount when you do that.
Sure. Seth, I just know this because I know you. You were doing this, so call it 18 months, you got to 35 people in your business. And your family grew exponentially as well. So
yes,
both of those, how did you manage that?
It's a lot. But again, it goes back to, do I want to be that guy? If I am 60 years old and I am in someone's kitchen, I'm an epic failure of my potential. And so I constantly go back to what I'm capable of. And I know what I'm capable of. So that's one of the driving things, is that I'm to be able to give my kids what they deserve and my family what they deserve. I have to build a business that runs when I'm not there. And so this has been an extreme juggle. I think I had to paint a vision to my wife and help her buy in on it. And she has been so supportive. And I think a lot of people think I work more. A lot of people are like, dude, you're always working. I oftentimes think about like the dad who's home but checked out and watching TV versus the dad who comes home at 6 o'clock and is Superman for 2 hours until they go to bed, and then crushes it on the weekend, and then goes and takes vacations with them and stuff, and is super present, versus the dude who might be home for 4 hours every day but doesn't interact. And so I think about like super impactful time doing the things I'm doing. And I used to, for call it 7-8 years, I worked minimum 6 days a week until 7:30 every day. Now I come home every day at no later than 6:30. I know that some people might still consider that late. And I don't work weekends anymore. So I have built what I consider a lot bigger boundaries. The weekend is all about my family. And then when I get home at night, it is 100% about them until they go to bed. And I'm super focused on whatever we're doing. And so I just have these boundaries around. And then we take these weeks where we go on epic vacations and opportunities and do these things. And I think that's how you do it.
I happen to agree with you. And I think what you've built together with your wife is pretty incredible. Can I ask you a couple more questions about that? So your wife's awesome. First of all, I got the opportunity to meet her at one of our masterminds I want to say a year and a half ago. It was at the Scott. I remember that. And I remember I thought she was so fun, such great energy. But you've had her buy in partnership a lot. So one of the things that y'all had shared with me was when you first got married and starting a family, you were really, really disciplined around the type of home, the type of cars, the way you spent money, and the vision of what you were setting up. So you've been in alignment with her a lot. I think a lot of people who may be on this call or who are watching it have had challenges in the past of everyone getting into alignment, going toward the same vision. How do you guys balance that? What does that look like?
So that is not always easy. It's not. And there are uncomfortable conversations that happen versus like, hey, you need to rein it back in, like on spending or something. Like we have to have those uncomfortable conversations at times. Now, I was very clear on painting a picture of where we wanted to go and why. Like, I don't want to be that guy at 60 that's grinding. And I don't want to be that guy at 40. I want to be and so we painted the picture of like, I'd love to be in my daughter's as a volunteer on Tuesdays in the classroom. And to get there, there's going to be some tremendous sacrifice. Now, where I think I don't know if I did it on purpose or what, but like where I did really well was I painted this vision. I told her where we're going and what we're able to accomplish. And along the way, I think where people get disconnected and frustrated, you've got to reward people.
Yeah.
And so like, I've done some things for my wife, like take her on an epic, absurd vacation where we will sleep in a tree house in Belize and go do all these exotic things because we sacrificed in other areas. And then so she starts to see like, okay, this is where we're going. And then like we'll sit there, and I think I was like an example is like we're just I drive a 2006 Toyota Tundra. I can go buy a Ferrari cash. I don't. She has a Suburban that we bought with the kids, but we bought a used one. Like, and so there's not these crazy frills. But along the way, it's like, hey, honey, I'm gonna fly out to Arizona for this conference. I put her on a private jet and fly her into Vegas and we go hang out for the weekend. Like that's a stupid expense, but it's not, because it teaches, she really, 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 really appreciates that special moment. And it's like me saying, thank you for dealing with this, my craziness, call it, and building our plan and our future. And so you have to, one, paint a very, very vivid picture, but include them in the picture of where you want to go. Like, we're going to build a house on the river, have a winery, all this stuff. That's where we're going. And we have this goal to get there. But that wasn't just me. That was painted with her.
Yeah.
And like, we know we're going to have a house in San Diego on the beach. That was painted with her. It wasn't just my idea. It's me and her. And so I'm lucky because she's bought in and she's phenomenal, and you need that support system. Without that, it is hard. But I've also in turn followed through on the things I'm going to say that I say.
Mm-hmm. One thing that I think everyone on here can attest to, and I certainly have had the ability to witness it from afar over the past couple of years, is you're not afraid of doing the hard thing. You're not afraid of the grind or doing the hard thing. And I think so often for us, and Brett jokes about it a lot. He's like, why is everyone trying to not do the thing? Like, we always really have to not do the thing, right? What do I have to do to like never get on the dialer again? It's like that. Brett will get on the dialer tomorrow if he has to. You're literally saying you're going to go out this afternoon and get on the dialer. Worst case scenario, you'll go on the appointment. You'll have the hard conversation with your wife. You'll do the hard thing and eat the frog. Is that something that came natural for you, or is that something based on pain? You started that behavior. You seem to take things very head on.
I think it's a background with the sports. For me, I was extremely competitive. So I think that the obstacles that, I know very vividly where it came from. I was playing college football, and it was extremely easy to me prior to college football. Suddenly you go and everybody's a badass.
Yeah.
I rarely saw the field my first year. That was extremely tough. So there was one of two options: easy, quit, or two, like, gain 40 pounds, get faster, improve, and work my ass off. And so the next year, I decided I'm just gonna all in commit. Played more snaps than anyone on the team and had a tremendous year. So I saw that moment, and I reflect on that moment often, because we're faced with these hard tasks and challenges. And it's like, okay, you really have two options. It's like, one, you just quit, or two, you go head on at this thing and tackle it. And the opportunity is so much better. I actually have one right now, and it's right in front of me. I am being investigated by the Department of Real Estate in California. Nothing I did wrong. Just some unethical jerk who's angry about some things, and these things pop up when you have success.
Yep.
The unfortunate reality is that the DRE in California is crazy and very, 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 very strict. So I pay unlicensed people to go and identify homes for me to buy, and they get paid a commission. Well, technically, by the legal letter of the law, that is a real estate agent task. And so someone would be getting paid a commission for an unlicensed act is a thing that you cannot do and can get in great trouble for. I could, and our whole damn business is around that. And so I'm sitting here brainstorming. I could quit. And yesterday as I'm getting on the call yesterday with the attorney, I'm like, that's my whole business. Like, yeah, I can't, no, that's what. And so I'm going like, holy smokes. So we're walking through, and she goes, Seth, you bought 89 homes this year. And I go, yes. She goes, you would be a dream client for a realtor, would you not? I said, yeah. And she goes, well, who's to say that you can't just negotiate your commissions, and these people can get paid a very small amount to identify a property for you, but they can get paid a larger amount of whatever you determine when you sell the property. So essentially, we're going to pay these people. We're now going to complete, unfortunately, but there's going to be a silver lining somewhere in this. We're going to shift, and everyone's going to be licensed, and it is what it is. But and it's going to be an absolute pain in the ass. I could quit, but what else am I getting? Like that, there's nothing in that. We're going to explode this thing up to buying 1,000 homes a year. And so I'm going to figure out a way to get through this. But I look at it as like, what else are you going to do?
Mm-hmm. You really hit the nail on the head. It seems like it's always when you have more and more success, the obstacles or the people wanting to bring that success down or inhibit your success. No one cares when you're unsuccessful. No one gives two craps. No one's looking at you. Yeah. The IRS doesn't care. Nobody cares. All of a sudden you start making money when people start asking questions. And so I'm sorry you're going through that. I know that's not fun. But like you said, there's always some silver lining on those things and powering through.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a couple rapid fire questions that I like to ask a few different people on
yes.
Awesome. So what would you say has been 2 or 3 of the key contributors to your success?
2 or 3 of the key contributors to my success. I constantly focus on why I'm doing this, the goals, the reason that drives it, because there's times that aren't fun. And so you have to focus on that. The other thing is having a partner. We talked about that already, but gosh, she motivates me a lot. And there's times where I'll be frustrated and down, and she will like, no, get up, go. Like she's very, very tough on me in a loving way. And so I would say the 2 things right now are just, I hyper focus on where I want to be and what I want to do. And then my wife, like she's just, without her, it's not going to go. And she's very, very tough on me in an absolute loving way.
I love it's a really good partner. And I'm fortunate to have a couple in my life as well. Brett certainly is one of them that is supportive and hard on you at the same time, is the true love that really does help to actually support you versus just the cheerleader, like you can do it. The actual truth of a partner is incredible. So
sometimes it's the things you don't want to hear. And it shocks me that she does it to me. Like, because most people don't tell me anything. They're not gonna. She does. But I need to hear it sometimes. Sometimes I'm frustrated in the moment when I hear it, but then I look back and I go, gosh, dang it. That's why that's my life.
Yeah. What's one of your favorite failures or things that have set you up later for success?
One of my favorite failures. You've got me here.
Well, you've shared some with us today already, so you don't have to dig for another.
No, I'm going to get you a good one. Let me think about this for a second. I think the failure, I think that one that defined me, I continuously go back to the college football one. And I know I said it, but that was the moment I reflect on a lot, that I would never, I wouldn't have went into real estate had I just walked away. And so that changed my life. And there's a handful of those that have happened where I look back, wow, that was a monumental decision.
Awesome. What advice would you give to a smart driven new agent or investor that's about to enter this real world of real estate, or they're already a realtor, they're entering kind of into that investment side, they're new to our world and looking to build that moat that you talked about? What advice would you give them, or what advice, sometimes it's easier to say, what should they ignore? What should they not think about?
There's a couple things. Number one, just do the first deal. just do it. Like buy it tomorrow. Like don't overthink this thing and just do. I see so many people sit on the sidelines and do not take action. And that is a problem. And so that's number one. Number two, simplicity. These do not have to be complex businesses. It looks insane when I was sitting with a gentleman that was new to this and he was looking at my business and he's intimidated. But in reality, it's extremely simple. We show up at 8:30, we call until noon, we go on appointments in the afternoon, we make offers on homes. That is it.
That's a business.
And like if you can't write your business down on a napkin, you have too complex of a business. So simplicity, keep it very, very simple. I'm like obsessed with that. I try to dumb everything down because if you go through all this crazy, no one's going to execute. And so that to me is the biggest deal.
The old keep it simple, stupid, as my dad used to say. The kiss approach.
And you'd be wild how many people are worth a shit ton of money that have a very, very simple approach.
It's funny. You talked about just do the first deal. When I first started working with Brett, and you look from the outside and it seems as though there's some risk associated. He moves so fast, he talks fast. It all seems risky, but then when you actually dig into it, he's the most disciplined of all the investors that I have met. And there is such a protection around everything that he does. But he has this phrase that when I first heard it, I was like, what? You can't say, like, that's insane. He used to say, baller, I'm not going to do it unless you just throw my wallet over the fence. And he's like, throw my wallet over the wall. And what he meant by that was, I have to just go and invest in this in order to learn the actual systems and models around it. I've researched as much as I possibly can until I throw my wallet over the wall. I'm not going to go over the wall to figure it out. I've got to go and invest. But I remember hearing that and being like, what? It was with notes was the first time I heard him say that. Baller, I just have to go buy some and figure it out. I'm going to throw my wallet over the wall. Now he underwrote the property. He had all his protections associated with the notes that he purchased, but to get the checklist and systems and models, which yours truly wants to have in place before she does anything, he's like, we got to go over the wall.
That's 100% correct. And what's wild is you won't know very much and you'll make a boatload of mistakes on the first deal. And guess what? You will somehow run into 20 grand. Mm-hmm. Like it's so you can fill your way to 20 grand easily, but, and you have to do it because you won't learn. Like right now, I've probably learned everything I can about RV parks. Brett and I are kind of obsessed on this thing. The next step, just mail the list, just make an offer. And it's just like, go.
Just throw it over the fence. Let's go. But y'all have done just an incredible amount of research on the front end. And now
but you got to move. You don't know it all.
Yeah. Eventually you got to go. You got to take action. You have always been focused on investments, from investing in yourself, investing in your education, investing in your hard work, and investing in hard assets, right? What are the 3 top personal investments or educational investments that you've made that have made the biggest impact in your career?
Yeah. So, but prior for me, Tony Robbins, I think it opens the mind to the personal development side. And I just didn't get it until I went there. I think I went to a couple events before that, but then didn't implement, didn't understand. Tony Robbins changed my life. And there's some of the crazy rah guru. That's whatever. But like the general ideas of how you can actually change the way you think. It's you decide how you think, and you decide how you look at opportunities, and you decide how you learn. That's Tony Robbins. And so that was instrumental right there. The second one was, it's funny. Brett was one of the most transformational, call it educational things I've done. I found Brett I had these cold callers from 1,000 calls a day, and it's a transparent company, and they show everybody. And there's this, everybody's got 1 or 2, maybe 3, but then there's a dude with 20. I'm like, who the heck is this guy? So
Scott Bauer also finds that funny.
I bug the lady who owns the company, like, hey, I want his number. Give me his number. Yeah, and she just for the longest time would not give me his number. I said, I'm not going to quit asking. Give me his phone number. She finally gives it to me. Well, then I call him for 3 months, and he doesn't answer. But I keep calling every week. Finally, his assistant calls and goes, "Hi, Clear. I believe you want to speak to Mr. Tanner. You've been calling him. I can get you on the phone next Tuesday for 15 minutes." I go, "Deal." And it just turned into one of the most impactful relationships of my life. I mean, it's just transformed the way I think. It's great to have a mentor that challenges me and pushes me forward all the time. And he's also a great friend.
Well, he certainly cherishes your friendship and considers you one of his dearest. So I know that was this relationship has been very impactful for him as well. What else should we, well, first, I want to go ahead and open up time flew, Seth. Thank you so much. I was just diving in and learning a ton. I took 3 pages of notes. So this was super impactful for me personally. I appreciate that. I want to open it up though to those who are listening. If y'all have any questions, you can put it in the chat box, unmute yourself, or you can put it in the Facebook below. We're live on Facebook. Did y'all have any questions for Seth? I know I got some messages on the side of Andy commenting about the honesty in your approach to life and business. He loves it and says it was super motivational. I know he's excited to see you in just a couple weeks at the mastermind. Scott Bauer Power was laughing and didn't realize he was not muted when you were sharing about seeing that Brett had 20 callers. Kobe had asked some questions around how you grew so fast to 35 people and what that looks like. So you've addressed a lot of those. Did anyone else have any questions for Seth?
Seth, I just want to tell you, I love you, brother. I am actually going to jump off and talk to one of my attorneys here in just a few minutes at 10 o'clock. But great stuff as always. I'll see you in a couple of weeks and keep crushing. But I got to run. Love you, Scott. See you then.
Good deal. Well, Seth, I can't thank you enough. Selfishly, I'm excited to have a beer or a cocktail with you at the mastermind in our usual tradition after the event. So for all of you, thank you, Scott, on behalf of Scott. Whoa, I was looking at Scott's name. Thank you, Seth, on behalf of everyone here. We really, really appreciate it and look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks.
Cool. Have a great day.
Bye.